G'day, everyone, and welcome back to the Great Western Hotel podcast, your home for the stories, the legends, the rock, the country, the soul, the blues, you name it, and the live music that makes the Great Western Hotel such an iconic venue up there in Rockhampton. I'm your host, Adam Simon from Crowdcast, and today we are gearing up for one of the biggest events on the calendar this year, the Triple M Rocks the Western, coming up this Saturday, 21st of February, 2026. It's a powerhouse lineup for Australian music royalty, one of whom we're going to introduce you to in a moment. And these guys, I was just talking to someone saying these guys define the soundtrack of my life and generations, and one of the true legends leading the charge is my guest today, from Eagle Rock to Come Said the Boy to Cool World. His influence on not just Australian rock, but Australian music is it's just simply monumental. I can't say it any bigger, but please welcome to the podcast today, the one and only Ross Wilson. Ross, thank you so much for joining us here on the Great Western Hotel podcast.
Thank you. Welcome to my home. It's like my office come sometimes studio. Got my guitar here, and, cupboard full of guitars and all that stuff.
You've got your guitar there, so I've got a few other questions, but I'm going to ask, we're going to take advantage of that for a second. As a singer, as a songwriter, and as a performer, what comes first for you? Is it the melody? Is it the lyric?
That's such a cliched question, Adam. No, there's no actually set pattern. Quite often, because we're searching for ideas, this is typical of songwriters. Something will get into your brain and go like, that's a good title, and you'll write down titles. And then one day you'll go and look, what's that title? And it's all to do with your subconscious. The back of your mind is like way ahead of the front of your mind. And so the reason that title's been suggested is because your subconscious is saying that's a link to something that you ought to talk about. And so then you start writing the song. On this day, I love that song. I love that title, Cool World, whatever. And you start writing the song and things tumble out. And it's all a matter of like waiting and the crossroads and where your subconscious and your conscious mind collide. Sometimes it's hard work and sometimes it's just words and music come together. Yeah. Sometimes I write with other people. For instance, Touch of Paradise. I was forming a new band called Mondo Rock, and I didn't have any new songs. And I went around to see a guy I knew, Gulliver Smith, and he was like a word guy. And it was the first time I'd ever written a song using someone else's words. And that song, the first song ever written for Mondo Rock, was A Touch of Paradise.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, there you go. Exclusive.
Are you a patient songwriter? I mean, I met songwriter Guy Clark once, and he said, I've written some songs in 3 minutes, and I've written some songs in 3 years.
But there you go. I got great comfort from reading a thing from Leonard Cohen saying, sometimes it takes 30 years to write a song. And that's the point I'm at right now. I've got a bunch of songs I've been working on for a long time, and I feel no shame that finally they're reaching fruition. Sometimes it takes that long.
I suppose that's the beauty of having such a longevity career and having such a rich career. You can develop those songs and still deliver them to older fans and new fans and some. But over that career that's spanning decades, is there a particular moment that stands out as a defining milestone in your musical journey?
Well, I'm just really lucky that Carl Jung, you've heard of him.
Yeah, okay.
There's no such thing as coincidence. And there were a whole lot of things that happened to me particularly in the early days, that you'd go like, how did that happen? I went to work at a book warehouse, right? After I'd been in England for about 9 months or something and hitchhiked back across the world with my new bride. And we landed back in Melbourne eventually with no money. And I had to get some jobs and hook up with this is like 1970, right?
Yeah.
Hook up with my former bandmates and stuff. And lo and behold, the place where I was working was a guy called Gary Young, a drummer who I knew, and he'd been sort of out of work and he had to get a gig, and I needed a gig, and he knew Wayne Duncan and I knew Ross Hannaford, and suddenly Daddy Cool came into fruition, and and Eagle Rock, and believe me, there's no other bunch of 4 people in the world that could play Eagle Rock like that. I've heard some terrible versions, and now people are dropping their decks to it.
But then you talk about Carl Jung. I mean, Carl Jung's one of his famous quotes. I know it's in my office, and it says, "Somewhere, somehow, something amazing is awaiting to to happen. And the way you
I rest my case.
the way you
And that
described the
was and
formation of
that
Eagle
was
Rock thing, and
that
Daddy
was the
Cool.
springboard for everything, like, yeah, we only lasted a couple of years. We had a great effect. We showed that, an Australian band could sell a lot of records. They had to rejig how many records you sold for a gold record because of how many we sold. And things kind of took off from there. I'm glad I was part of that, and then I produced Skyhooks and they smashed the Daddy Cool records 3 years later. They sold like 250,000 albums, living the 70s. Yeah, I don't know what happened, but you're talking about, things coming together. A lot of things came together and within like between 1970 and 1990 when Mondo Rock finally disbanded, or 91. I can't believe how much stuff I fitted in. I can't do that now.
That's one of the common threads. I do a lot of different podcasts, especially about music. One of the common threads I hear is growing up, music was in the family. Mum and dad were
That's true.
musicians and so on, or mum played opera records and dad played Frank Sinatra records, and I fell in somewhere in the middle. I had the
Sounds
same.
familiar, yeah.
My cot was next door, or the wall was next door to the stereo. So I had Neil
Man,
Diamond and I
we
had
had the same
Skyhooks.
childhood.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then all of a sudden, when Nirvana came along and I didn't understand the lyrics, all of a sudden my subliminal memory came back and went, "Well, I understand these singer-songwriters from the '70s and so on." And that became sort of my thing for a while. And well, anyone musical in your family, or is it something you found yourself?
Oh, definitely. Like my dad was a jazz freak. He wasn't particularly musical himself. He used
Yeah,
to love playing the trumpet and trying to copy the guys he loved. He was a trumpet expert, right? He had lots of jazz records, right? So I'd hear jazz, like you say, through the wall on Saturday night. They had friends around that be playing jazz music, and then I'd be sort of going, oh, why can't they go to sleep? But later on, I realized I could recognize, Louis Armstrong. I can recognize, who was playing the trumpet and all that stuff. But my mother, she was classically trained. So she was a very good singer. She could play the violin and pretty good on the piano. She could sight read. Like she could read a book with music in it and hear it all in her head, right? So and had like perfect pitch and all that. So I grew up around that. Meanwhile, I'm a kid and I'm listening to the radio, pop songs because I'm a kid, and I'm starting to buy singles. I bought like "That'll Be the Day" by Buddy Holly and the Crickets. I said, "Dad, look, Buddy Holly's coming to town. Can we go and see him?" And he goes, "Okay." So him and another mate who had a couple of sons, we all went along together. Saw Johnny O'Keefe opened up. Jerry Lee Lewis, who was another guy I loved, right? And Buddy Holly and the Crickets, all on the one bill at Festival Hall in Melbourne. I was 10 years old. So I was already like in the zone, And, about 12 years later, I was headlining there myself.
yeah.
There you go.
My dad tells a similar story. He said, "Oh, we went and saw the Everly Brothers and Roy Orbison and a little known fellow called Willie Nelson." And I said, "What that cost you? £1.03." I went,
Exactly.
and I had tickets for Orbison before he died, and
Well,
it's
I
like,
saw Orbison
imagine,
with the Stones first
God,
at the Palais Theatre in Melbourne, standing in front of the curtain. Everyone played for like 20 minutes, and there's Roy Orbison, I loved him too, and there's Stones, but there was this standoff between the greasers who loved Roy and
yeah,
the new kids who had their hair down here, and we're all kind of going, "Ugh." But by the end of the show, they realized we loved Roy and they were digging the Stones
yeah,
and we're
yeah.
all one,
I've seen
Music,
that happen.
music.
It's music that we love and keeps us alive, and we get to share and we grow together with. And you've got your guitar there. What's the first song that really reached into Ross Wilson's heart and said, I want to be a musician. I want to be a singer. I want to play guitar." What's the first song? Can you play us a
Well,
few chords?
I'm not a good guitarist. I write songs on guitar. I'll strum away and then I give them to the guys that can actually play. But I can still play, yeah. That's my thing. I play that better than anyone else.
I was going to say, I hope you know that lick for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So I'd hear I got a guitar out of necessity because I wanted to listen. I loved John Lee Hooker, and there's no one can play like him. And if you listen to his early stuff, his first 10 years, it's absolutely remarkable what one guy does with a stomp, just stomping on the ground. It sounds like three guys, and it's just amazing. So check that out, people. Not all the later stuff.
I'm reasonably sure, like Robert Johnson, John Lee Hooker did the deal with the devil down at the crossroads. You can't
Well,
play like that without some supernatural influence, I'm sure. So we've got Triple M Rocks, the Great Western coming up, and you're bringing Ross Wilson and the Peaceniks. For those who haven't seen the Peaceniks before, tell us about that band.
Well, the Peaceniks are a conglomeration of the best musicians that I can find at any given time. Most of them are permanent, but we have a little shifts every now and again, and there are other guys that come in and out. But terrific musicians. They know my repertoire. We have a lot of interplay on stage. We jam. We do all kinds of stuff, So it's a pretty exciting, but also we have a good time. There's jokes and there's it's there's a little bit of serious stuff in there, but you get Daddy Cool, Mondo Rock, everything I'm known for. Maybe the odd new song as well, because that's what I'm all about.
I remember I saw you guys at Dashville about 2 years ago, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was with a friend of mine. They're like, "Oh, I'm going to bed," and I said, "Just wait, see Ross and the band. Just wait." Oh, I said, "You won't be disappointed." And they stayed up. We stayed up there for the gig. It'd been a long day. And they turned to me and said, "That's one thing I'll never forget. The night I stayed up and watched that amazing gig." And I thought, well, that was the amazing thing. And I was supposed to and go, "What's going to be playing next?" And hit after hit after hit came, and a few different songs we hadn't heard for, a couple of deep cuts, and it's
Yeah.
just like in that space in the middle of a forest, or at the pub on Saturday night up here at the Great Western Hotel. Music can take place anywhere, can't it? And it can reach and it can teach as well. So many different things. And that's what you're seeing now. Is you're seeing multi generations come through. Dads and
Yeah.
kids and so on. You've also got an incredible lineup joining you here at this Triple M Rocks the West. I mean, how special is it when you can share a bill with the likes of your friends like Richard Clapton, Radiators, Wendy Matthews, and the rest of the amazing lineup we got coming up?
Well, the Clapton, I love him, We're at the Radiators. We actually wrote a song together, but it sort of got stomped on by lockdown. I'm hoping we can bring it out
Okay, cool.
eventually. It's a really good song. So we got to get it happening. So keep that in mind, everybody.
I see
And
you,
my old buddies, the Shantuzis, I love those ladies.
Tuesdays, yeah, fantastic. My sex,
Yeah.
fantastic line. But I see you and Clapton as the Benjamin Button of the Australian music industry. You don't age, you blokes. You know?
Oh, well, you got to work at it. No, I work hard at it. I've got a trainer. I'm into the weights, heavy
Yeah.
weights, all that kind of stuff. And believe me, it works. I can jump around on stage.
Yourself and the rest of the lineup on this bill, Triple M Rocks the Western, all has to have this amazing energy. And like the songs might be 20, 30, 40 years old, but they still sound fresh. And you especially have this ability to keep these classic songs so fresh. Full World could be released today and it would be a number one hit. It
Mhm.
just has that relevance and that passion you bring to the stage. How do you keep that energy going after so many years?
Well, it's actually the music that like we do things. Okay, gonna be playing around Brisbane, and then next day fly to Rockhampton, and then back again, and down to the Gold Coast. Like that's an itinerary. Up and down and around and driving and all that. But the time on stage, that's that's actually regenerating. That's what keeps us alive.
Yeah.
We can do all the work that have to go there and, I live in Melbourne, we've gotta go up to Rockhampton and everything, but the time on stage, that's everything, and it's not and people, I can't do it without you. I'd hate to play to an empty room.
Yeah.
And so we do it together. It's not me preaching to the people. It's like the people feed me, and we do this thing together. We have sing-alongs. We have fun. And hopefully they'll move their hips and have a good time.
You mentioned Melbourne before there, and I was going to ask the question about Australia, but I want to focus on Melbourne there. How has the Melbourne music industry evolved over the years? What changes have stood out? And I'm sure both positive and negative and challenges.
Well, I think most of the time it's very positive. We've got a real problem at the moment, though, because all of this stuff, escalating insurance policies, you have a climate disaster, a flood or a bushfire or whatever, and it trickles down into the, the, the gigs. The hotels have to pay extra insurance, and you got to jack up the beer prices, whatever. It's very difficult. I don't see why that should be happening. There's got to be some way to sort that out so that, it doesn't have that effect. That's a real problem at the moment. But the music keeps going, is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I've got a daughter in a band called Gut Health. gut health, and they're awesome. Ben Lee got online last week. He played with them down at a festival in Tassie, and he's going, I just saw this amazing band called Gut Health, you know,
Right.
and they're not pop, they're not everything, but they're rock and roll, and they're experimental, and that's what keeps the music alive, and that's what comes out of Melbourne.
And there's that, like, well, there was a gig last night, and like the general admission was $250. The next tier was $200, and right up the back was 149. You're talking about insurances and so on, but it's also have you seen challenges? Because like they said, like in the Great Depression, the thing that survived after all was entertainment. After
Yes.
COVID, people started took a while, but they came back to bands and so on. With the economy we live in and all the challenges plus the stresses, jobs and stuff like that, people still come out to music, don't
Well,
they?
that's a
They
that's a
still come
beautiful
out.
thing because we get together, you know?
Yeah.
We get together, we communicate on a level, something that we communicate on a level outside of dogma, outside of politics. Sometimes it's political, the music can have a message, but outside the screeching, you know, and it's it it gets your brain going in a different way.
Mm,
And I think that's why people they go like, "Oh, we've been locked down. We've got to have some community, and let's do it with music."
yeah.
My wife comes from a Greek family, and that's what they're all about. It's multi-generational. Everyone goes out together. They all get into the music. They got their own music. The whole thing. It's been very instructive to me. That
Mm.
whole thing.
Yeah, my son plays bouzouki,
Yeah,
Greek bouzouki and so on. It's fascinating because he can watch it and he doesn't read a stick of music, but he's watched it from learning other people, and it's so very soothing for himself and his mother and his grandmother, and
exactly.
it's a very they just love to watch him play, and I had him in a guitar shop a few weeks ago, and I said, "Can you do that on guitar?" And he picked up a Maiden, did it in a matter of seconds, and it's just like that made me happy all of a sudden, and that's I was watching the guys in the guitar shop and like, "Look at this kid, he's amazing." So, music never stops. I remember Bowie said years ago, "Music will be like water; it just will never stop running.
It won't.
There'll always be water," and so on. And that's a fascinating part about it. But how do you then see that? I suppose if you could give one piece of advice or what you see with the upcoming generation of music, you said your daughter's in a band called Gut Health, which we'll put some links to in our show notes for today. But what do you see the challenges for, or where do you see the music industry going
Well,
in the next decade?
it's all a bit funny at the moment because you've got people dominating. How you uh, get your music out there. We don't have
Yeah,
a dedicated national television show anymore, right? Like
yeah,
we had when I was peaking, I had Countdown. Right, all the links were there. You could make a record,
yeah.
put it out, go on Countdown. If it didn't make the charts 2 weeks later, you went next. But if it did, you were like boom, out on the road, touring around, having a great time.
We had
We don't
Countdown,
have
and
that
we
now.
had Hey Hey for a while. I mean, you were a regular on the Hey Hey scene as well, Hey Hey Saturday, and then all of a sudden we went, "That's it.
Well, we
There's no
can't.
variety TV."
I'm used to the old way. Now there's new ways, and you have to
Mm,
navigate the new ways. There's a lot of flack about streaming, but one thing about streaming is if you own the music yourself, you can actually make money from streaming.
yeah,
If you're tied to some crappy deal from way, way back and the record company taking everything, not so good, but you can. So the new breed, they know how to navigate. Gen Z knows how to navigate the waves and get things happening. Yeah, it's a new game, but it's always a new game.
yeah, yeah. The Great Western Hotel up in Rockhampton, where the gig's gonna be. Have you played the Great Western before?
I haven't played the Great Western, but I've been to Rockhampton many times.
It's an amazing venue, it's got its own rodeo arena, gonna be a fantastic night. Very iconic venue up there in Rockhampton, but for fans who are coming along this weekend, what are they gonna hear? The hits, we're gonna hear Eagle Rock, we're gonna hear Cool World, we're gonna hear
Well,
Come Said the Boys. Some
they've only
surprises maybe?
given me. There's so many people on the bill. They've only given me 45 minutes,
It's okay.
so we'll just cram them all together.
You can play
All killer.
you you can play a Meatloaf version of, Eagle Rock, which goes for 45 minutes, one of those long, long songs. Any surprises we can sneak into, or they're just gonna hear
The opening song
hit
will
after
probably.
hit?
I've got this great opening song that I
Yeah,
do called "Daddy's Back," which was off
I've
the
seen that. It's a great
yeah,
song.
and
Great opening
it's
song.
a really good song.
Yeah.
And so that's what we opened with. So if you haven't heard it before, dig it.
And I remember I heard a quote from Elvis once that says, "You've got one song to grab that crowd and lift them up." And "Daddy's Back" is a fantastic opening song. I loved it when I heard it from the second I heard it. So,
Yeah.
any chance of maybe that duo with the Rads coming up, the Radios might
I
sneak
hope
into?
so. I've been nagging them. I've been annoyed with them, to tell you the truth, because we
Yeah,
haven't followed through. But it's a really good song, and it's got a lot of relevance to the world today. So I'm got to get on their backs and get it. It's all there. I just need Brian, their lead singer, to do his bit.
Brian, we're calling out to you now, Brian. Come on, just waiting to get a chance. So, second last question. I'm going to ask you one more question before my final question. These amazing songs. I mean, I was so funny. I was out today and Come Said the Boy came on the radio and the car was driving. It's like, oh, this is ironic. I'm talking to Ross tonight. And do you go from periods of time where there might be one particular favorite song of yours and then 6 months later it might be different, or you always have that one song that just has that special meaning to you?
Well, I love the early songs. I love Come Back Again because it's just like an 8-bar thing repeated over and over. It's like you go boom, boom, boom. Like the kick on them. You can play that song for 20 minutes, and Daddy Cool used to do that. We'd jam on it for every. You can sing whatever you like. You can play whatever you like over it. That's probably my favorite song
Yeah. Yes.
because
Hopefully we'll
it's
hear that
so
on Saturday.
simple, and you can do anything with it.
Yeah.
And I wish I could still write them like that. It's hard to be simple. Being simple is very difficult.
It's funny, and that's why I think the songs like, Come Back Again and Eagle Rock and so on, they do attract generational crowds and generational fans because they're simple, but they're fun. I think fun
Well,
music now in
Eagle
2026 is
Rock is
what we
actually
really need.
quite difficult to play, and that's why I mentioned early in the piece that without those other guys in Daddy Cool,
Yeah.
it would not have. I absolutely give the four of us the credit of making that work. If you don't get it absolutely right, and I've had to talk to the guys in my band sometimes. Now they're nailing it. I go just listen to it again. Figure out what it is you got to do, and when it goes, everything works. It's a puzzle. It's a Zen exercise to play Eagle Rock properly.
Look at Zen. I mean, I love the Zen of it that the song was written. Would you imagine in 2026 it still fills dance floors when it's played, either by bands or by DJs? It's a massive crowd pleaser.
Well, I'm happy about that. It's as I say on stage now, I go here's the song that got me here today.
Yeah.
The foundation. And that's why we got
Thank you
to
so
play it
much.
right.
Thanks so much for your time. I've got one last question, but as I said, this has been a privilege and honor to talk to someone whose music I grew up on, and I've seen you on stages, both large and small, and it's been my privilege to talk to you. But I've got one last question. Thank you so much for your time. I've asked this same question of everyone I've ever interviewed over 15 years. The lights are on stage, your lights are ready to go. You can hear the crowd revving up. You're at the side of the stage. You walk out on stage, the band kicks in, the daddy's back. What's it feel like to be Ross Wilson when you walk on stage?
It's the best it's the best thing that happens in my life other than my family. It really is. I know I have to, you have to think about these things when you first start out, it's all fun and you're just having a great time and then you learn stuff and then you kind of maybe have a crash where up and down and up and down. And I came to the conclusion in the end that, yes, I write songs. Yes, I sing, right? But when I'm on stage, I'm an entertainer. And that's the people have paid their money and they want me to give them something. And I can't do it I can't get what I want without, sounds like a transactional thing, but it's true. We're in it together. They feed me energy and everything. And I hopefully give them hopefully I give them more than what they expected. When I step on that stage, I want to give those people who haven't seen me maybe for a long time, more than what they expected. I don't want to see some old guy going through the paces. I want them to
No
get
way.
the next level Ross Wilson. You
You are. You're
understand?
definitely
Yeah.
going to get that. And no, guys, if you're listening, if you're watching, wherever you're doing, go to this entire gig, but wait for the 45 minutes that Ross Wilson, the piece, needs to perform because it is something of memory. And you'll go. And the best part about one thing I love about Ross, and this is a lesson for all young musicians out there, he tours. He still tours and he plays. And that's a lesson I think so many young bands need to learn. You
Hey,
got to
young
get out there, you
guys,
got to find your audience.
young guys, there is a future.
There is a future. And it's going to be led by Ross Wilson to the next generation, next 50 years. So, Ross, thank you so much for your time. Ross Wilson is part of the Triple M Rocks the Great Western coming up this Saturday night, Saturday, February 21st. It's going to be a great gig. My Sex, Radios, Richard Clapton, Shantuzis, Wendy Matthews, and of course, our very, very special guest this evening, Ross Wilson. Ross, thank you so much for your time. We'll see you at the Great Western on Saturday. Keep on
There.
rocking. Thanks a lot.
Rocky.
Okay, so we'll just stop on that. Thank you so